Shout out to the tribe member for tagging me in this video, because this piece of the puzzle, man, I hope Brian Freeman sees this, because this is evidence that this wasn't the first time that Blake Lively has tried to hijack a movie. This is the first time she was successful with it. But watch this video and we're gonna talk about it.
Sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull, because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. So there are moments, it's just as important to say, okay, I believe in this, and that's why I'm standing up for it, and that's why I'm not being difficult. And then there are other moments to go like, am I the asshole in the room? Like, what is happening here? I think it's about being upfront about like knowing what you actually need versus just like trying to get the job. And then, you know, once you're in it, sort of revealing the scope of your sort of needs to be, you know, fulfilled.
Oh, it gets worse. So another piece of the puzzle was brought to my attention by another tribe member a few days ago when I was in Nashville, and I was like, oh shit, this is a puzzle piece. So do y'all remember the Vogue September 2024 edition? Let me show you a picture. When I see Blake Lively and Hugh Jackman in it, I was confused. Like, I thought that they were promoting a new movie or some shit, right? So the theme of the shoot was a cat burglar of some sort. Very luxurious. And, of course, I did not read the article at all, because I don't care for the broad, right? Didn't pay no mind to it, until it was brought to my attention a couple of days ago that there is a section of the article where it talks about her writing. It also highlights and showcases her internalized misogyny. But let me read you the clip. The interviewer asks if she writes. Blake tilts her head, suddenly curious. She plays with a big blue ring on her finger. My husband did an interview where they ask, what is something surprising that people don't know about your wife? And he said, it's that she's a writer.
Bullshit? Bullshit?
She writes on every movie she works on. And the interviewer said, and the baking? And the baking, right? She's a great baker. And it was just such an interesting moment. I don't know if it's a female thing or not. They want to talk about baking. I'm sorry, I ask. To bake together, I say, a little abashed. I'm a terrible baker. Like, a female thing? You know, I've noticed in a lot of interviews, she makes these little slick, undermining comments about women to the point where she's really giving Cersei Lannister vibes, right? But no. It gets worse.
That like about the female emotion, and it's just like hysterical women, and I was like, no, like women, you know.
Her eyes narrow. Why did you ask about writing? I say the question occurred to me the night before. I had to read about all her creative endeavors, and something about that restlessness felt familiar. Later, Feig will confirm that she worked to bring out her vision for a character. She did work on her dialogue to make that happen, and he will admiringly, and it just brought everything to life. I asked Lively if she had ever written something from scratch. She considers this. A blank page is not as nearly exciting to me as starting with a script and finding something people have overlooked. Saying, no, there's something there. To me, it's a treasure hunt. And so, when I can see the treasure, then I get to be an archaeologist. I get to excavate. I get to carve out and find this thing and show people the value in it. That, to me, is what I love. The last light glints from another ring a bright coil around the finger. After this, I'll make you an oatmeal cappuccino. And she says brightly, because it's the only way we'll stay awake till 6 a.m. It doesn't matter what form of interview this woman gives. She cannot answer a direct question if you put a gun to her head. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, you have no idea how painful it is for me to listen to this woman talk or listen to any type of written correspondence, because she cannot talk. She cannot speak. She has no public presence. It is painful. But with that being said, she won't take the time out to create something from scratch. So that answers a question from previous tribe members. Why don't she get her own shit and make her own shit? Because she don't have the fucking intelligence to do it. That's not a writer. A writer writes something from scratch. An editor takes something that's existing and fucks with it, or makes corrections to it, depending on how you want to look at it. Typical colonizer shit, right? Typical colonizer shit. But judging by this little clip, she's done that with the movie Another Simple Favor, where she changed the entire dialogue. And unless the director puts his foot down, her foot down, and said, nah, man, your job is to be an actor. You're not a producer, you're not a writer, you're not a screenwriter. Your job is to act. But we have already seen in my previous videos and in previous interviews, she don't know how to fucking act. She said it out of her own mouth. She does not know how to read lines and embody the character.
Well, I'm not the type of actor who can act without producing, you know? Like, you can't just put me in any clothes and give me any words and have me step in and transform. And I used to be very insecure about that. I used to, feel like an imposter because I would watch actors who were just shapeshifters. They could do it in any circumstance. And then I realized that half of the actors that I admire most were people who were more filmmakers, or people who had to get their hands in the storytelling and the writing and the creating and the environment, and people that I respected so much. And I was like, oh, okay, there's two different categories, and I'm in this category, and that's okay. So once I started embracing that and leaning into it and not feeling embarrassed about it, I think I was able to do the best work. And so that's why I'm so proud of this film.
Oh my God, dog.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is evidence. This is evidence on 3 different occasions where she has laid out motive, intent in regards to extort directors and production companies of their rights to a body of work. She has admitted to stealing bodies of work. And I remember myself and other tribe members was like, there are so many books that you can adapt to film. There are so many projects that you can take on for yourself. Why not get your own shit? Because she doesn't have the talent and the intelligence to create something from scratch. This has her and her husband written all over it. This is evidence. Also, there is a petition going around to revoke her PGA credit. I don't think you need the petition, because those 3 interviews is enough evidence to send to the Producers Guild of America and say, hey, she did not obtain PGA credit legally and honestly. She did it through extortion. So if you know anyone that works at the PGA Guild, I know who the president is. I don't know her personally, but I know of her because I went on their website. But yeah, forward them those interviews and show like, hey, she did not obtain that credit through proper channels. Just clear black and white extortion, especially per the California definition. But yeah, let me know what you think, because that's just wild.